The crisis in the European automotive industry, executive pay and policy failures. Carlos Tavares is leaving his position as CEO of Stellantis, and he's walking away with a severance package worth 100 million euros. 100 million euros. Let's break this down. With an average annual salary of 30,000 euros, that amount could pay 3,333 workers for an entire year. Yet those workers, because of misguided strategies by automakers who overpay their executives and short-sighted policies from European authorities that favor Chinese manufacturers, are now facing layoffs. Is this fair? In my opinion, it's absolutely insane. Now, I'm not saying managers shouldn't be well compensated. We're in a free market economy, and top talent is sought after by the world's biggest companies. But this is madness. Let's remember, people get paid based on the results they bring. Athletes like Jannik Sinner earn massive sponsorship deals because they're world-class performers. Cristiano Ronaldo commands astronomical salaries because he's a global superstar. But if a highly paid manager not only fails to deliver positive results but makes things worse, why should they receive such extravagant rewards? If we don't address this issue, we risk a full-blown economic collapse with dire consequences. Let's dive into the numbers to understand just how problematic this situation has become for Stellantis and the automotive industry as a whole. Let's start with the hard data. Stellantis, under Tavares' leadership, has faced some alarming trends. In the third quarter of 2024, Stellantis recorded a 20% drop in global sales. Profits? They plummeted by 50% compared to the same quarter the previous year. In the United States, a critical market, Stellantis' market share dropped dramatically from 14% in 2019 to just 8% in 2024. Now, these numbers paint a grim picture. This isn't a company that's thriving or dominating its industry. Instead, it's one struggling to keep pace with its competitors. Despite this, Carlos Tavares is walking away with 100 million euros. Now let's broaden our perspective. Stellantis isn't alone in facing challenges. The entire European automotive sector is in turmoil. Why? Because European automakers have been slow to adapt to a rapidly changing global market. While the EU continues to push aggressive green policies to phase out combustion engines, Chinese manufacturers have seized the opportunity to flood the market with affordable and competitive electric vehicles. Take this as an example. In 2023, Chinese EV makers controlled 8% of the European EV market. By the end of 2024, that figure had doubled to 16%, and analysts predict it could reach 25% by 2026. Why is this happening? Two reasons. Cost advantage. Chinese manufacturers like BYD and NIO have achieved incredible economies of scale, enabling them to offer EVs at prices European brands can't match. Slow European transition. European automakers, including Stellantis, have lagged in developing affordable EVs and robust charging infrastructures. The consequences of these failures fall squarely on the shoulders of workers. Here's what's happening. Job cuts. Thousands of workers in Stellantis' European plants are facing layoffs as the company scrambles to cut costs. Plant closures. Several manufacturing facilities are being shut down or downsized, particularly in regions like Italy and France, where Stellantis has historically been a major employer. Meanwhile, the people making these decisions, executives like Carlos Tavares, are pocketing astronomical sums, 100 million euros. That's more than most people can even imagine earning in their lifetime. It's not just about the money, it's about the lack of results. A manager's salary should reflect the outcomes they deliver, but what has Tavares achieved? The merger of PSA and FCA to create Stellantis was supposed to lead to synergies and stronger market positioning. Instead, it has resulted in a fractured strategy and a failure to compete effectively in key markets. The transition to electric vehicles was positioned as a cornerstone of Stellantis's future, yet its EV sales are lagging behind competitors like Tesla, BYD, and even Volkswagen. If Tavares were delivering record profits and leading Stellantis to dominate the EV market, perhaps a severance package of this magnitude could be justified, but given the company's current state, it's outrageous. This isn't just Stellantis's problem, it's emblematic of broader European policy failures. The EU's stringent emissions targets and aggressive deadlines for phasing out internal combustion engines have put European automakers under immense pressure. At the same time, the EU has failed to protect its domestic car makers from the onslaught of cheaper, subsidized Chinese imports. While these policies are well-intentioned, aiming to reduce emissions and combat climate change, they've inadvertently handed a significant advantage to non-European competitors. The result? European workers lose their jobs, European manufacturers lose their competitive edge, and European consumers are left with fewer options. So what's the solution? Here are a few steps that need to happen immediately. Reform executive compensation. Companies like Stellantis need to tie executive pay more closely to performance, particularly during times of crisis. Invest in innovation. European automakers must double down on R&D to compete with Chinese EV makers in terms of price and quality. Policy support. The EU must implement policies that protect its car industry while encouraging sustainable practices. This could include tariffs on subsidized imports or incentives for domestic EV production. Carlos Tavares' €100 million payout is a stark reminder of everything that's wrong with the current state of the automotive industry. It's a system that rewards failure at the top while leaving workers to bear the brunt of poor decisions. It's a system that's been slow to adapt to a changing world and is now paying the price. If we don't act soon, if companies and policymakers don't make smarter, more strategic choices, we risk losing an industry that has been a cornerstone of European economies for over a century. What do you think? Is this the